letting everybody in. That's what we're doing.
Yeah. Can you guys see me now? Tyler, can you see me?
It's gonna take 10 or 15-second delay.
Okay.
There it goes.
All right. Hey, everybody.
All right, I got you.
Hi, guys.
Chloe Sutton. I am the vice president of Fitter and Faster and a two-time Olympic swimmer. I live here in Reno, Nevada, and we are so excited that you guys are all here with us today. We've had a couple of little technical difficulties. That's just a part of this, but we're excited that we're here now with you. So I'm also joined by Cierra. Cierra is an Olympic gold medalist from Rio, right, Cierra?
Yes. Yep.
Yeah. The Rio Olympics. Oh, that must have been so cool. And she's also a two-time world gold medalist. She's currently finishing up her degree in nutrition, which is why you guys are all here, and healthy living with psychology at Arizona State University. She's an avid cooker, Food Network lover, who also likes to try new recipes and cooking techniques. Welcome, Cierra.
Hi, guys. I'm happy to be here.
Yeah, we've got a lot of people in the room, and we're excited to get this going. So, Cierra, so a lot of you guys we asked a lot of you what you wanted to learn about, what you wanted to see in these webinars. And overwhelmingly, a lot of people said that you want to see a lot of stuff on nutrition. So Cierra, tell us a little bit about why nutrition for people and athletes is so important.
Nutrition is super important for both, normal people and athletes. So nutrition is basically what you put in your body and how it fuels your body and how each of those little things. So when you put, food in your body, how that breaks down in your body, where it goes, how it kind of fuels your body and makes it go and keeps it healthy. For swimming, it's super important because, you want to put good gas in a car. So if your body's a car, you want to put really good gas in it. So you want to make sure, like for you as a swimmer and an athlete, it's about fueling your body in the way that kind of makes you go harder, faster, stronger, can really help with your training and your performances.
So I asked everybody if they think they have good nutrition habits. And most of you guys are saying yes. Only a couple people said no, but a lot of you guys are saying sometimes. Cierra, as an Olympic gold medalist, are you really good at nutrition all the time, or do you let yourself have some?
No. I have the biggest sweet tooth. So, I mean, like, you're allowed to splurge. You're allowed to have, it's just about, everything in moderation, everything in little bits. You don't want to eat, donuts, ice cream, cake, brownies, all the time for every meal. Growing up, we always had a rule in our household that if you finished your dinner, you got a little bit of dessert if we had it. So growing up, that's how I did it. And, like with cooking and stuff, it's really easy nowadays to do recipes that are healthier, for dessert. One of my favorite things to make it's called black bean brownies, and maybe we'll do it down the line. But it tastes like chocolate cake, which is really weird and confusing, but it's not as bad for you. But yeah, I splurge a couple times.
I think that's a little bit. Yeah. So a lot of people are asking how long they think this is going to be. We've got a recipe that Cierra is actually going to be cooking for you all. Cierra, do you know how long the recipe might take?
The recipe in and of itself, maybe, from start to finish, 20, 30 minutes.
Okay, great.
Really easy. Yeah, it's really easy. It might even take less than that. Yeah, it shouldn't be too bad.
So it shouldn't be too long, guys. I would guess that we will go about 45 minutes. Could be an hour if Cierra and I get chatty. But feel free to ask us questions over in the chat. I'll be keeping an eye on that as Cierra begins cooking. So Cierra, what are some of the nutrients? If I'm looking at the back of a box of something I'm eating, what are some of the things that as a swimmer we should kind of look for? What are some of the things that we should prioritize getting good amounts of?
So when you look at like the back of a nutrition facts, you look at, okay, you got the fats, the carbs, the protein, you got the vitamins, the minerals that they usually put on there. I always look for sugar content, and I try to do lower sugar because usually the sugar in there is processed sugar. You want to stay away from processed sugars, which is like your white refined sugars. But you also still need sugars, but that can come from carbs. You know, you want to get good carbs, good protein, and actually good fats. So there's, you know, there's two types of fats. There's bad fats and there's good fats. And the good fats, you want to, you know, get a good little bit of that. And so good fats are mainly from vegetables, nuts, seeds, fish, kind of your, again, your whole foods. Bad fats are like trans fats, so you want to try to stay away from those when you're looking at a nutrition label. But the good fats and stuff, you know, they help keep everything running smoothly. Protein, if you're looking for high protein, that's always good to look for, because that helps with your muscle building, and kind of fuels your muscles. And when you break down, when you're training, that helps build those back up. And then your carbs, so carbs and fats are your two big energy sources too. So if you're looking for like an energy boost, you want to hit your carbs and your fats. But again, good fats and good carbs. And good carbs would be like fruits, milk, dairies, pastas, veggies. And again, I really like whole foods. So trying to get everything from like, you know, sweet potatoes, from turkey, like what we're doing today, sweet potatoes, turkey, cheese, stuff like that.
Nice. So tell us about the recipe we're going to be making today. Like, when would you make this kind of a meal? Is it a before a swim meet, before practice, you know?
I'd say this is a post practice, because it is, you know, it's got good protein in it. We're doing ground turkey, sweet potato skillet, for those of you guys that don't know. And it's got, you know, it's got a veggies, it's got onion and red bell pepper in it. It's got ground turkey, it's got sweet potatoes, which is really good in carbs. So it's kind of hitting all the big things you want to hit in a plate post practice.
Awesome. Okay, well, do you
Yeah,
want to
and
get
it's super.
started? You ready?
Yeah, yeah,
Yay!
I'm ready. All right, guys, come on a trip with me. All right, so I got my tiny little kitchen kind of set up for you guys. So what we're making today is we're doing a ground turkey and sweet potato skillet hash, I guess you could call it. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna start off. We're gonna hit our oven up. We're gonna put it at about 5 and 6, like a medium to high heat. So I don't know if you guys can kind of see that. So
So
you want to get your.
I just shared the recipe on here in the files, so you guys should be able to see it if you'd like. I recommend just watching Cierra cook this today, and I shared the recipe with you all. So then you can go and try to cook it later on your own. But for right now, I think just watch. It's good to learn some cooking skills and learn to cook
Yeah.
things your parents don't have to cook for you all the time. Now, Cierra, we did get one question. What if you're a vegetarian? Is there something you can think of that would be good to replace your ground turkey with?
Yeah, you can do, you know, you can do sort of lentils wouldn't be good with this, but you know, you could put honestly tofu in here that would hide it well. You can hit a lot of plant-based proteins. So you could do, I would throw like black beans in here. I would throw some sort of bean in here, some tofu maybe if you want to, you know, if you're into tofu, which I wasn't for a while, and then I actually went to the Olympic Training Center, oddly enough, and got hooked on tofu. So I think those would be definitely good alternatives for vegetarians.
Nice.
So yeah, all
The
right.
Training Center
So
does have like the best food.
the OTC does.
Yeah.
Yeah, they actually, it's really good for like the buffet style. So guys, what we're gonna do is we're gonna start with our ground turkey. First of all, you're gonna wash your hands. That's what you're gonna do. So you're gonna first wash your hands because, you know, of everything that's going on, and just for um, safety and health practices. So you're gonna wash your hands, and then you're not gonna try to touch the turkey. And if you do, with raw meat, you always, 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 always wash whatever it touched and wash your hands afterward, because you don't want to cross contaminate, because this, if you can get some of this raw, you can get really sick with it. So we're gonna plop that into our skillet, and so what we're gonna do first is we're gonna let this brown, and you're gonna kind of chunk it up a little bit so it cooks evenly and gets all nice and brown and all that stuff. And I'm kind of gonna go off the recipe a little bit, guys, because I like to, you know, throw different stuff in here, and that's kind of a cool part about this recipe, is you can mix and add things, you know, that you think would taste really good with that. So I'm a big fan of, you know, skillet / hashes because you can really mix and match whatever you really want. So while that's browning, what I'm going to do is I'm going to peel. You're going to have like a couple sweet potatoes. I got 2 like medium-sized ones because I'm not going to make the biggest batch. And I already pre-diced some just so you guys aren't watching me lop of potato for a while. So you guys are going to take your potato and you're just going to give it a good peel. And you're just going to get the skin on. And honestly, you can keep the skin on if you really prefer that. And if you don't have a peeler, it's not, you know, it's not going to really change much. I just am going to take it off for this one.
I think peeling
so
potatoes is really satisfying.
Right? And
Yeah.
especially if you have a good peeler. I had a bad peeler once growing up and like it got really old. And I just like could not peel for the life of me. So I was always getting like super frustrated with it. But once I got a good peeler, it was awesome.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I can't find a good peeler right now, and I actually made sweet potatoes last night. And I had my husband must have hidden my good peeler somewhere. I had to use a
You're like, it's gone. It's gone. So you're gonna make sure you keep an eye on your turkey, because you don't want it to get too, you know, crispy. It's funny because whenever I watch Food Network, I watch Worst Cooks in America, and it's really funny to watch because Chef Ann Burnell, she's always like, brown food tastes good. So I always play that in my head when I'm cooking. So next, what you guys are gonna do, and this one you can honestly do in 1 skillet or 2. I'm gonna do it in 2 today, just so I can speed it up. So your other skillet, you're gonna turn this on, and this is gonna be for your sweet potatoes, because they take a little bit longer to cook, because they're so hard. So what you're gonna do for the dicing, kids, have a parent around or adult with a knife, because we don't want any fingers off. Yeah. So how I cut it is I like to go in half lengthwise. So then I have a sturdy base to cut from. So I'm not, you know, cutting a wobbly sweet potato. And then how I like to do it is I like to do sticks. You do nice little sticks. And then I take, you know, two of these slices. And these were great, honestly, for carrot fries, sweet potato fries too. If you do like, you know, the chunky ones, you could do this and bake them too, and that's really good. But I take 2 of them, and then I take those guys, cut those guys kind of in half so they look like this. You know, you got little fingers. And then you want to make it so they're kind of chunky. You want to make chunky dices with it, so that, you know, they're good bite size. You want it to be, you know, nice little cube. And you want to try to make everything the same amount of, you know, width and size so that they all cook at the same time. Because you're going to, you know, and if you mess up and you have a really big one, you're just going to get a crunchy potato sometimes. So I've done that before, and you're like eating it and you're like, yeah, this is really good. And then you crunch down on like a potato. So you're going to just dice all that up, you know, and you're going to get that going. And so when your pan is getting a little hotter, oh, we lost Chloe.
Oh, no, I'm still here. I just made
okay.
So we could see what you're
I
doing.
was like, oh gosh, she's
gone. You just stare at my face while you're cooking.
Right. So we're going to take our olive oil now, guys, and in our second pan, we're going to put, you know, a little bit just to coat it, just to get it so it's not going to stick to the sweet potatoes. So we're going to hit the sweet potatoes with that. So you're going to get a nice, you know, coating of olive oil on there. And then you're going to put your sweet potatoes that you just chopped up. You're going to put those in your skillet, and you're just going to let those guys kind of, you know, saute, I guess. You're going to let them cook for a good bit while your turkey's cooking and while you're doing some more dicing. So you're going to keep an eye on this because, you know, no burn. All right, so now we got our bell pepper, and we're kind of going to do the same thing that we just did with the sweet potatoes. We're going to take, so you're going to take your pepper, lop the top off. This is how I do it. Lop the top off. I go in and I get around, because you want to clean it out. You want to go around to the, like, things holding it on together, the fibers. You're going to do that, and then you can just pull it kind of right out. And so you're going to get rid of the insides, and then you kind of got a clean pepper. You know, it's super easy to do that. You're going to cut it in half.
That way. I'm going to start doing it that way.
Yeah. It's super easy. Like, I've fooled around with it a bunch of times because I just got so sick and tired of, like, you know, fighting with it. So then you're going to take your pepper and you're going to go, so it's about this. You're going to go this way. Kind of get the same concept. You want everything to kind of be the same size, including, you know, your other stuff, your peppers and your onions. You want to kind of make it so that everything's even, so that it cooks evenly and isn't, you know, one thing tougher than the other, or crunchier than the other. So you're just going to dice these guys up, and again, watch your fingers. A good tip I found out is if you curl your fingers like this and hold it like this, you won't nick yourself. It kind of keeps a good steady hand on it, so you're not just really close to your fingers. Because I've had it, you know, a couple times where you're like, oh, there goes my thumb. So you're going to give it a quick dice. You're going to do that. Keep an eye on your sweet potatoes, your turkey. It's kind of a multitasking thing, and you guys can always prep before you cook. I know if you're a big Food Network fan like I am, they call, I guess the technical term is mise en place, which sounds like you're sneezing. So if you do that, then, you know, you can kind of do all these steps back to back and just wait for things to cook as it's going. So I'm actually going to keep these guys off to the side, the peppers. I'm going to keep these off to the side in a bowl. I'm going to keep those off. And I'm going to wait for the turkey to finish cooking so that it's not pink, to throw the rest of it in. Because I want the sweet potatoes to get all the heat in their pan that they're in, because they're, again, harder than the peppers will be.
Yeah, I usually do my prep, like chopping and everything, before I go to my workouts. That way, when I get home from my workout, I can do it all in a pot and eat it.
Well, it's like doing it like if you get one of those home cooking kits. It's kind of doing that for yourself.
Yeah.
You get everything kind of ready and going from that. So, all right. So our turkey is pretty much good to go. So what I'm going to do with that is I'm going to kind of scoop it to the side a little bit. So I'm going to create some room over in one half of the pan. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to take our garlic. So you can mince garlic, or you can buy one of these guys. This is a lot of garlic, but it's pre Costco garlic. It's pre-chopped, minced garlic. And it just makes it really easy, you know, to not deal with chopping garlic, because that can sometimes be annoying. So what we're going to do is we're going to, you know, add the garlic so that it kind of gets toasted a little bit, gets cooked down so it's not as potent, but it adds that flavor. And you're going to do 1 tablespoon of this. That's the big guy, if you're doing measuring. We're going to add some of that. And we're going to add some more olive oil to this, just so nothing, you know, burns and sticks, and actually add some health benefits too for you. So that's one of the good fats, by the way. So that's the good fat. These guys are good carbs. Your peppers are good carbs, and your turkey is good protein. And so you're hitting all your nutrients that you really want to look for when you're making a meal, is you're kind of hitting all those in one go, which is super nice. Oh, I love the smell of garlic.
Yeah.
Does anybody else like cooking garlic? For some reason is like one of the best smells to me. I love it. So you're gonna get that kind of sauteing and cooking and in the pan. You're gonna give these guys a little toss so they're not burning. And you'll throw one across the kitchen, because why not? It's like salt, but for sweet potatoes, I guess. So you're going to keep an eye on them, make sure they're not, you know, burning. And if you guys are feeling overwhelmed by doing all of it at the same time, again, I recommend prepping first. And I recommend maybe cooking on a lower heat, so it takes more time for everything to cook down. So you're not, scrambling and being like, oh gosh, are things, burning? Are things working out? So you're going to take that, you're going to mix all the garlic in once it's kind of gone for a minute or two. You're going to mix that with your meat. And then what you're going to do is you're going to add all your seasonings now too. So salt, you're going to hit with salt. I like to just sprinkle and do it by taste, but the recipe that I sent, or we put on that PDF, has that, the recommended, teaspoon, tablespoon of that on there. So you're going to hit with salt. You're going to do a little bit of cumin. So cumin I really like to use. I do it in a couple dishes of mine that I like to do, but you're going to hit that with some cumin because that adds some flavor. And you're just going to let that kind of simmer, sit, marinate, whatever you want to call it, and just let it kind of keep warm while the rest of your things are cooking. So you're gonna toss these guys.
Got
this guy?
Yeah.
I cannot tell you the amount of omelets, veggies, other foods that I have tossed across the kitchen while trying to figure out how to do this, because I always watched it on Food Network and I was like, I have to know how to do this. I have to.
I asked them if this looks like a recipe they could or will make themselves, and we had about 2/3 of people say yes, and then 1/3 said maybe, and almost nobody. We had 1% say no. So
nice.
I think a lot of people are going to be having their trying to find a way to get some turkey and sweet potatoes and stuff here soon.
Yeah, and it's super good, guys.
Yeah, it's so easy and healthy, and it looks delicious.
Yeah, and it's really good. Okay, next, onions. So if you guys don't, you don't have any cooking experience whatsoever, you want to make sure you take the skin off, because that, you can't eat that. So you're going to cut it kind of the one end off. They have a specific way that they tell you to do this, like actual chefs. I kind of just lop an end off and hope for the best half the time, because I never understand how they do it. So you're going to take that first, I always take the first layer off with the skin, just to make sure, because there's this kind of layer that they have on there, that, can sometimes be kind of weird and not a good texture. So, and by the way, guys,
if I take off that whole first layer, I feel like it makes my eyes burn a little bit less.
This is where goggles come in handy, Chloe.
Yeah.
This is where I was like, you guys can slap your goggles on. And I would love, guys, I'm going to stick my head in. If you guys take pictures of you cutting onions with goggles, I will love it. So if you want to tag yourselves in that and tag, Fitter Faster, do it, because that would be hysterical. I actually don't have trouble with onions, which I guess is weird because a lot of people do. So I'm not going to put my goggles on because I don't have them out. If I had them out, I totally would. So how you cut an onion is there's a couple ways. So I usually go this way. I do rings and then chop, but I'll do, I guess, the chef way. So you kind of do this and you go in. And you want to do kind of slices, but this is, this is a little bit more dangerous, and I wouldn't recommend you guys trying this, just because it's kind of scary, and you don't want to, again,
all the way through right now, right?
You what?
You're not going all the way through with each chop.
No, so I accidentally on this one did, so I'll show you what I do versus what, I guess chefs do. So you want to leave it so you've kind of got an inch maybe, and maybe a half an inch from where the butt of the onion is. And then you're going to do the same. You're going to turn it. So, you see I have kind of these slices here. You're going to turn it so you do it kind of a tic-tac-toe, if you will, cut. And again, you're not going all the way through, so that you kind of have, you got squares. And then you're going to take it and you're going to dice down. So that what that does is it makes it that kind of uniform shape. So you're not sitting there, with different types of cuts and stuff. So what you're going to do is you're going to immediately put your onions straight into the pan, and you're going to want to try to get those on the pan so that they brown up and they get, because if you like raw onions, you can totally just let them sit. But if not, let them cook down a little bit. And you're gonna add your peppers too. So those guys cook down too. So this is kind of the waiting game right now as you let these guys kind of go down, you let them cook. And so this is about 10 minutes, probably a little longer if you take the heat down, which I did when I started chopping the onions and the peppers. I took it down to probably a low heat just so the turkey doesn't get too terribly dried out. So you're going to do that. And if you want now is you can take your sweet potatoes, which should be, they should be soft to the touch. Like you should be able to kind of mash them in between your fingers like mashed potatoes. Like that's when mashed potatoes are done or sweet potatoes are done. And you can always, give it a try and make sure it tastes right and has the right texture. So once that is, these guys are all sauteed up. And they can be a little hard when they go in the pan with everything else because everything here needs to cook as well. So then they'll continue cooking with everything in here in the pan. So you're just gonna keep that cooking, and this is kind of the waiting game. This is the longest part, honestly, guys, of the whole thing.
So why don't you turn on chat again and we can do some
Okay.
Q&A with some of the
Cool.
listeners that are here. So guys, I've been in chat again. Let me
Yeah.
see here. I will make us here. Okay, I think chat's enabled. Are you guys able to chat with us again?
Is everybody here?
Okay. How much should swimmers eat?
Ooh, good question. So I actually sat down with my nutritionist at school, and we went through kind of what, the technical, like they have a specific calculator algorithm that they put kind of your weight, your age, your, height into everything. And then they spit out how many calories you expend in a day. And so I am 6'4", 200 pounds, with the training that we go through. They put out that just to exist, like if I was just laying in a bed all day, which is called your basal metabolic rate, I would burn about 2,500 calories. And then with the addition of, all of the workouts that we do, they spit out for me, they put, about, I think it was like 3,000 to 4,000 total, with singles and a lift, and then 5,000 for doubles and a lift, doubles and a cardio. But the end all is that you guys are probably burning a lot and you probably need to eat a lot. That being said, it's about what you eat, because, you can get calories like eating donuts and eating, different sweets and different junk foods and stuff, but it's all about what you put in your body. And honestly, I wouldn't worry too much about calories. You just want to make sure you're hitting, a couple meals. You want to hit your 3 meals, breakfast, lunch, dinner, and I would recommend some snacks in between, just so you're not, dipping with energy and what you're consuming. And so that kind of guarantees that you're going to get enough calories for what you're burning.
Yeah, and I think it's also important to note that everybody's a little different, right?
Yeah,
you noted your
exactly.
height. I'm built differently too. I think all of you guys are going to be different sizes. You're going to be working out different amounts. Your metabolisms are just going to be different. So,
well, and I'm a distance, Chloe, we're distance. We were like, so we're burning a lot, and that, that might be different from breaststrokers and backstrokers and sprinters. So, yeah.
And I think it's not necessarily as important to count calories. I think it's good to kind of be aware of any calories you're getting. Like Cierra said, she sat down and tried to figure out, what she should be getting. But a lot of it is just listening to your body. If you're
and when you're hungry.
Yeah, if you're like halfway through practice and you're exhausted, you feel like your blood sugar is low, you feel like your stomach's empty, you might need to eat a little bit more, before practice. If you're losing weight, you just got to keep an eye on stuff like that and make sure you're getting enough.
Yeah.
So, let's see
I
here.
say if you guys are hungry, like make sure you're, like if you get to the point where you're hungry, and you're like, it's just listening to your body. You want to make sure that you're giving it what it wants.
So we had some questions. You're cooking this over like a medium to high heat, right? Like
Yeah.
I know my oven goes, I think like a 6. You would cook it like around 4 or 5.
Yeah, I'd keep it probably, it says on the recipe 5, 6. I'd keep it probably like a 4 or 5, just, starting off so that you're not burning things. Like I had my sweet potatoes a little high and they're, a little charred, but, and it, that's flavor. So you just want to make sure that it's not burning, but I'd say probably like a 4 on the dial, personally.
Yeah.
That's what I would choose.
And the cool thing I feel like about this recipe is you're giving us specifics with the sweet potatoes, peppers, onions, and turkey. But most of this can be substituted for other things, right? Like
yeah, a lot of, so you could do.
Can you do white potatoes? Can you do a green pepper?
Yeah, you can do any color pepper. I never understood the difference between peppers, but there's the colors have different, different meanings. There's different sweetness levels. There's different nutrients.
Yeah.
But you can do, you can do ground beef. You could do like a sausage if you want. Like I know that my fiance and we will do like a variation of this like all the time. So we'll do we'll do ground beef and we'll add rice. And we'll do like black beans and we'll do a jalapeno, and then you kind of have a little burrito bowl going on. You could do salmon with different, salmon actually would be very good. You would cook it different, but that would go well with the ingredients that we have. So yeah, you can mix and match a lot of this, and that's what I love about kind of the skillet concept and the hash concept is you can really let your creativity go. And I encourage you guys to try different combinations, and you might get one that's just like, or you might get some really good ones. Because that's what I love about cooking is like you can experiment all over the place, whatever you really want to do. So.
A lot of people are also asking what you should eat before meat. And this is a common question you get at some camps and all over the place. And I don't know about you, but I didn't, the same thing that I would eat before practice, I usually would eat before swim meet,
Yeah, I would recommend not, going crazy. Like when you go to a meet, you don't want to eat something that you never eat before because you don't know how your body's going to respond to it. Like I've gone to meets and I've eaten something that, I haven't really eaten before practices and meets and stuff, and like my stomach was not having it, and I had to swim like a mile, and I was like, oh boy, here we go. Like you don't want to do anything crazy. However, you want to make sure you're getting, carbo load. Everybody thinks carbo loading is like spaghetti meatballs, which is not a bad meal at all. However, you do get carbs from your veggies, your fruits, your pastas, your veg, you get carbs from everything else. So I like to do kind of a salmon dish before, and I like to do salmon, rice, and like asparagus. And you want to make sure you have you still want to make sure you have all 3 components on a dish. But I maybe would up the carbs a little bit, and that's just upping your veggies, your veggies, your rice, your pastas. That's what I would recommend.
And guys, if you are asking irrelevant questions or you're asking questions over and over again, I can't keep up with trying to read them all. So I'm going to start just banning some people from the room who are asking or commenting really inappropriate things. So just wanted to let you know. So you can find
cauliflower. Gregory, that's a great. Sorry, cauliflower rice is really good. Yeah, I love cauliflower rice.
Yeah, me too. I just recently started playing with it. I also did recently where I just steamed some cauliflower, mashed it up, added a little bit of butter and some seasoning, and also some goat cheese to it. And it was cauliflower, but it tasted like mashed potatoes. So I really liked it.
Yum. Guys, you want to make sure when you're cooking too. Sorry, Chloe. But you want to make sure that you're like constantly stirring it. Let it rest for a couple 30 seconds, and then move it again, just so everything gets heated and everything cooks evenly. So just a little tidbit.
What's your opinion on protein shakes? Do you drink protein shakes?
I do occasionally. I was doing it, since I haven't been training because of the quarantine, I haven't been doing it as much. But I did just to get that immediate, protein hit after practice to help my muscles. You want to try to do, something, you want to eat something, you want to drink, chocolate milk. I love chocolate milk. So that's kind of what I would do personally. But I would do like a protein shake after practice with my sweet tooth. I would do chocolate milk, peanut butter, and like a scoop of protein powder or a protein drink, and throw that together in a banana. Um, but I wouldn't go overkill on those. I would try to get all your protein from actual foods. That's what I would recommend. And if you guys you talk to people and you're like, I'm not getting enough, then like if you're talking to your coach, your parents, your doctor, then I would recommend maybe doing it, but try to get it from your foods first.
Yeah. Let's see. You guys are asking some great questions, especially after I let some people out of the room because they were asking irrelevant things, allowed me to keep up with it a little bit better. So somebody asked, what would be a good replacement for when you're craving something sweet, but you shouldn't be eating candy and stuff like that?
Yeah. So I think it's always hard for me because you want to have a candy bar, you want to have chocolate, you want to have all this stuff. I try to do like healthy desserts. So I use Pinterest a lot, and I find I'll find like the black bean brownies because I use honey, I use black beans, it's eggs, vanilla, cocoa powder, black beans, and that's it. And then you whip it all up and you bake it. But I would try to do, like fruits. I actually, the other day, I thought this was great. I did Greek yogurt, some peanut butter, mixed that together, and then put some chocolate chips in it, and it actually tasted very good because I was like desperate for something sweet. And so you want to make sure that your sugar content, isn't too high. And if you're really craving chocolate, go for some dark chocolate. Try, you don't have to say no to it. You just have to moderate it is my biggest thing. Like you don't want to say like, I can't ever have a donut because that'd be very hard. You wanna let yourself, have those things. If you're craving it, have a little bit. Don't gorge yourself on it.
Yeah.
That's how I go about it. It's like if I'm feeling like ice cream, I'll get some ice cream, but I won't like pound an entire pint of Ben and Jerry's, even though I want to. So it's all in moderation, for sure, guys.
Yeah. What if you're trying to lose weight? What if you know that that's something that you need to work on? I mean, that's a tough question because you don't want to not have enough energy to get through practice. But I know for me,
Yes.
there were certain times in my career where I knew that I needed to watch what I ate maybe a little bit more, actually trying to get a lot of energy. So do you have any advice for that? Is it just, for me, it was kind of making some substitutions where usually I would eat maybe a little heartier. Maybe instead of putting a skillet like this with vegetables and turkey on potato base, I would put it on maybe like a bed of lettuce as like a salad.
Yeah.
Do you have any advice for that kind of thing? Because I think that is something that's at least asked about very often, but is a difficult subject to talk about.
Yeah. And I always base it off of feeling. Like if you're feeling good in the water, usually you're like, and if you're swimming fast, like you want to take it that. I mean, obviously, if you think you need to lose weight and you're really feeling that, then that's like what your goal should be. But you need to do it smart. Um, and so like how I would recommend it is kind of what you said, Chloe, is doing. You make some substitutions. You everything in moderation. Cut back on sweets. You want to make sure if you're doing it, you're not too far in a calorie deficit. So you want to make sure that you're still eating enough, but not over, if that makes sense to everybody. So you want to make sure that like instead of being 500 calories under, you want to say like, okay, I'm 100 calories over what I need, like what I am burning. And that way the calorie deficit, that'll allow your body to burn off some of the excess fat that might be there. But I've always, there's times where I'm like, wow, I feel really big. And, I kind of try to cut back on stuff. but you want to make sure you're not cutting in your muscles. And if you're going off of scale base, like if you're saying, oh my gosh, I gained 5 pounds, you want to make sure that it's not muscle, because muscle weighs more than fat. So you just guys, it's a delicate balance for sure. But I think everything in moderation, maybe cut back on sweets, cut back on, stuff you might be overindulging in.
A lot of people are asking if Nutella is good for you for some reason. If
That
I
has a lot
I might
of
start
sugar.
picking people out. Yeah, maybe a tiny bit of moderation if you're gonna
Yeah,
have some,
that's again, you
but
can
not
have some,
everything.
but like so when I was younger, it was really funny when I first ever tried Nutella. I would put like a solid like half an inch on a bagel and just go to town.
I
Like
did
I
this.
love
I
Nutella.
remember I was like 12 years old and I discovered it and I was like, this is healthy
Like
because I
this
thought
is
it
the
was healthy,
best.
but it is.
Yeah, no, it's really not that good for you, but like if you have it, don't, do it in moderation and don't beat yourself up for having it.
Yeah, I would consider it
Um,
like a drizzle over some fruit or something would be okay.
yeah, or like a piece of toast, like if you do it
That's
on a
like,
whole grain piece of
yeah.
toast like once or twice a week, you're fine. All right,
Um,
so we're looking, sorry, we're gonna,
no,
is
it's
it
okay.
cool if we go back? All right,
Yeah. How
so
many people does
we're,
this serve? Would you say this is like 2 to 3
oh,
people?
this is probably me and my fiance. It's about two, but honestly, if you guys split it and you do like the recipe, it's probably 4 or 5
Okay.
people. And you can make leftovers.
Yeah,
So
this keeps well. This is a good recipe that keeps and you can heat it up
I
later.
love leftovers. Leftovers are my favorite. So you're gonna take your sweet potatoes and drop those suckers in, and you're gonna mix it all together. Do a little Hannah Montana. No, just me. I I love Hannah Montana. It's fine. So you're gonna mix it all together so it's kind of hashy. Everything's mixed like together and put together and just looks. You get, if you were to take a bite right now, you would have everything in there. All right. So then you're gonna try to. I recommend tasting. It probably is hot as anything, but I want you guys to make sure that it tastes all right. So like, I need more salt in that for sure because I like salt. But you want to taste your food as you're cooking and adjust from there. Because like you can get to the end and be like, oh my gosh, it tastes like nothing. But you want to add the flavor as you go. So that's what I would recommend. And I've done that multiple times where I've just gotten to the end of it and I'm like, all right, this needs a whole lot more. So taste as you go. Mix that all in. We're gonna add our cheese now because I am a sucker for cheese. So mozzarella is actually super decent cheese for you guys to have because it's relatively low in fat. It's one of the better cheeses, I guess, for you. Um, and it's just delightful. So you really want to kind of flatten out your hash so that it creates just like a plate. And then you want to put the cheese, you want to sprinkle cheese kind of all on top of it. And it's about a half a cup. So if I were to do it measuring wise, it's one of these guys. But I'm just going to kind of eyeball it. But you want to make sure that it's covering the top. And then what you're going to do is you're going to let this melt. So it's going to sit on the heat a little bit longer. You're going to keep it probably at a 2 or 3 on the oven. And then if you guys are feeling like you want that fresh herb, I got some fresh cilantro that you can also use as well. And you're going to sprinkle that on top for a little added flavor. And so you're just going to take this, and I just take the bunch like in my hand like this and just kind of give it little tiny chops so that it's kind of, sprinkleable is how I would, call it. And if it's feeling like it's too much and you don't want that, that big of leaf or whatever, you can go over it a couple times with your knife so that you hit it so it's a little finer. So you're going to let this do its thing. You're going to let this melt. And then once that's done melting, you add your cilantro on top and you are good to go. So I'm going to let that melt a little bit before I show you guys the final product. But you let that melt. And I've added a fried egg on top. You can like put an egg, you can crack it on top and then stick it in the oven. and it'll cook in the oven, and that adds a little added protein boost for you guys, because eggs are, super cheap and really good for you nutrient wise and protein wise.
Yeah. So guys, over in the chat, tell us what kind of meals you would like to see next.
Yeah. If you guys have any, recipes, or if you're like, if you want to watch me bake the black bean brownies, I can totally do that.
We're getting
Could you give us
Jackson brownie. A lot of people were asking about breakfast. Maybe we can show
we
some
do a breakfast one.
I personally love making like a quiche on like a Friday afternoon and having that for breakfast over the weekend or something.
Yeah, I've done you do breakfast cups in a muffin tin.
Ooh, yeah.
And those actually store pretty well, so you could eat those like throughout the week and stuff like that. So those are really good. I could totally do that.
Yeah,
there's a lot of breakfasts on there.
One of my love languages is cooking. Like I like to know that my husband's fed, and so like on the weekends I usually make breakfast burritos with eggs and then I just freeze them, and I'll make like 14 or 15 of them at a time. So you've got breakfast for like the next couple of weeks. So it's good to do that kind of prep because we know you guys are getting up early for practice, for school, and a lot of times you don't have time to make something healthy, so you end up grabbing like a bar or a Pop-Tart or something that probably isn't as healthy or doesn't have as much protein as you would like. But
what I can do, guys, too, is I'm seeing a lot of like, if I'm vegetarian, if I'm vegan, is what I can do too is with the recipes that I end up doing, if you guys would like, is do like a vegetarian option and come up with alternatives for that. I can definitely add that for you guys because I know that's a thing. And I saw somebody in there had like how do I get iron if I'm vegetarian and stuff like that. So actually, what's good about this guy is for whoever asked that, bell peppers actually have a high source of plant-based iron. And then they also have vitamin C, which helps you absorb that iron. Because I have trouble with, iron levels, and I look for it in every way, shape, and form that I can get. But so, fun fact: bell peppers are actually really high in that.
Yeah.
Quick and on the go. Protein.
Yeah, but I think a lot of people want snacks or things that they can make quick, breakfast type things. But I know quick is easy, guys. But right now you are quarantined. You've got the time to cook a healthy meal.
Yeah. I was like, now's the time to, mess around with some stuff. And I encourage you guys, if you guys try this, make sure you tag, Fit or Faster. You can tag me if you would like. You can tag Chloe. But I would love to see you guys try it. And there is no wrong way. If it messes up, try it again. That's the kind of the fun part about cooking is you can experiment. And, I had some sweet potatoes burn here. Like, it happens, and that's kind of the fun part is you try again. And it gives you something to do in quarantine.
Yeah. Yeah, it's good to learn how to cook for yourself. You guys don't want to get to college or beyond and not know how to cook anything. And
well, I had a friend. It was really funny. I went on a trip with one of my friends, and they were making like scrambled eggs, and I like scrambled the eggs. Like I whipped them up, and then they were like, okay, like I'll put it in the pan and I'll cook it. I said, okay, cool. They put it in the pan and they just sat there looking at it. I was like, well, what are you doing? And this is in college. Like this was in college, and they were just looking at it and they were like, I don't know what I'm doing. And I was like, what? So it's cooking is super important, guys, and I think learning as you go is really important and it's really fun. I find it kind of therapeutic. I hate cleaning up, but the cooking part is great.
Yeah, I try to clean up kind of as I go.
That's super
helpful. You're doing a cooking show, but this time where you're just waiting for the cheese to melt,
you could be cleaning up, you could be tossing some stuff, whatever you've got scrap wise. But all right, so we got the cheese actually is mostly melted. Like you guys can see my prep station is just absolutely a mess because I'm not used to cooking and talking at the same time with you guys. So what you're gonna do now is you're just gonna take your cilantro, you're gonna sprinkle that on top, and then I'm gonna do this so I don't burn my hand. And this can be done. I'm using a cast iron skillet, guys, but you guys can use any type of skillet, any type of pan. It really works. This is just my cast iron, but that's kind of your finished product. that's what you get, and it's super good and super tasty. And yeah, you can really experiment with really anything you guys want. It's really a versatile recipe. So I encourage you guys to definitely, play around with it. Give it, if you like garlic powder, use garlic powder. If you like pepper, use pepper. Like, play around with your spices. I'll sometimes throw chili pepper, cayenne in there, paprika, give it a little spice. So, yeah.
Well, everybody, thank you so much for joining us. That looked amazing. Hopefully you all, there's a file I shared. It should be sharing for you all under files. Hopefully you can see that. If not, I'll go ahead and post this recipe. Sierra created a great little flyer. I'll go ahead and post it to Fitter and Faster's Instagram. Please follow Fitter and Faster Swim Tour on Instagram. You can like us on Facebook too. Let us know if what else you guys want to see here. Sierra and I are going to be leading this little cooking show every Thursday, so you can tune back in to see us every Thursday. But yeah, let us know other shows you want to see, other recipes you want to see Sierra cook. And thank you. You guys are wonderful, and we'll see you next time.
Yeah. Bye, guys.
Bye, everyone.